With the passage of time, all traces of anthracite coal mining are disappearing from the landscape of northeastern Pennsylvania. Gone are the once prevalent coal breakers that were present in communities from Forest City to Tower City. Gone are the company houses built for the miners and replaced by developments. And gone are the miners. At undergroundminers.com, our purpose is to document this page of industrial history. One of the last big colliery miners is Phil Voystock of Freeland, Pennsylvania. Join us as Phil recounts his life working underground in the Anthracite region of Pennsylvania.
What I can say, it was a simple life, and I enjoyed every damn minute of it now that I'm old and look back at it. At the time, I probably didn't enjoy it. I was just caught up in living and stuff. But the way I see the world today, and I look back at how I was brought up and my friends, geez, what a difference. I enjoyed it, Ben. Like I told you, I didn't have enough money to take a girl to the movies, but it worked out. There's always a way. And that simple way in the coal region, I enjoyed it. And now I look back, they were wonderful years. Cracking coal. Oh, we made moonshine. We made beer. We made elderberry wine, chokecherry wine, dandelion blossom wine. Yeah. I know we used to wash out the ketchup bottle for beer. Pop made it and put it down the cellar. And nobody got drunk and caused trouble. At night they'd have their beer. There was no microbreweries like there is today. And what the hell, there was no McDougal's or Burglar King or anything like that. Mom made potato cakes. And corn fritters. Sure, hot dogs and marshmallows we made. Build a fire. Roast potatoes was a big thing. Raiding gardens was a big thing. Plums, grapes, pears, sneak in at night. Yeah, didn't cause no harm. Just kids. But I loved them. Now looking back, I was very lucky. And I was lucky to work at the mines that I did, the different types of mining, the jobs. Because I never passed nothing up. You want a job? Yeah, I'll learn it. I got 2 good arms and 2 good legs, I'll make a living. That's what I used to say to myself. That's all I can tell you. Electric drills, we hate it.
Yeah, this was, yeah, we hate it too.
Let me see.
But this was...
You see.
And we're gonna move over to Heckshersville, and this was a setup that some guys built. That's the slope, obviously, in the shanty.
So, Phil, what we're going to do is basically you and Banks are just going to have a conversation.
Sure.
So don't worry about looking at the cameras or me or Dad. Just look at you guys talk, and
Sure.
and that's that.
Okay, we're good.
All right. So this thing synchronizes all the sounds together.
Okay.
You know, like in the film. There you go.
Well, Phil, we came down here to see you today as kind of like anthracite brethren. You are a living legend in the anthracite region, at least to us, you know, and a lot of other people you are. And we just wanted to come down and talk to you, talk about your life, talk about your legacy, and you know, your childhood, how you grew up in the region, Was your dad a coal miner? Your grandparents, your uncles? You know, from when you grew up, went to school, joined the service, came back, worked in the mines. I mean, how was it growing up in the anthracite?
Good. I grew up in Upper Lehigh over there. Dad worked in the mines. My grandfather worked in the mines. Well, my son is the only one out of 4 generations didn't work in the mines. I came out of the Army in 1947. They were all going to Jersey, Kelco Chemical, and all them plants. We tried it for a week or two. We didn't like it, me and another guy. We come back here. They said, hey, they're hiring in Sugar Notch, but they're only hiring laborers and miners. Do you want to go up as a laborer? So we were drinking down in a bar down there, and Henny Arnold said, Phil, you go with me. I'll take you as a laborer. And then Dietrich and Tommy Unax picked 2 other guys. We'll go up Monday morning and see Anthony. He was the head guy outside at Sugar Notch. So we went up, and we told him I was green. I didn't know. I was never in the mines. And he said, yeah, okay. He said, Henry, you got papers? Yeah, okay. All right, come out tomorrow. So I started with him in the Baltimore vein. It was a platform job. I don't know if you know what a platform job is. You were that high off the gangway. They just built the platform a few inches above the head of car, and you scooped right in the car. There wasn't much pitch, but we put a sheet iron in anyway to hurry it up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all old workings. We took skips off the one side of the pillar. And we started up and kept coming back. And that's how I started as being labor. And there was, like I said, there was a pretty big nigger in there. It was about 5, maybe 6 inches. We had to gob that. Gob, you know what gob
sure.
is.
Yep.
We had to put it on the side and load these. You had to save your lumps, chunks, they say.
Uh-huh.
About that size. You put them on the side, scooped your car full, then you took the chunks and you put them all around the car.
To build high top, right?
That's right. And you scooped it full. Because when they brought the cars in, they thought, oh, Christ, I can fill them cars. But there was a thing in the car, both sides. And when they lifted it up, it made the car that much higher. It was like a swing board.
Right.
And then they had end boards at the end of the car. You saved them, and it's 2 pieces of wood, and stick it there, and fill it up.
Mm-hmm.
That was your car. They wanted 3. So we could give them 3. And, what's his name? Anthony, his brother, he'd come in and say, your gob pile ain't growing, pal. That meant the slate's going in the car.
Sneaking it out in the coal.
Yeah. He'd give us hell once in a while. But I worked that job with him, I guess maybe 6, 8 months. And he decided to go to Baltimore. So he left, and that left me as a laborer. So.
Now, in terms of Baltimore, you mean the Baltimore Tunnel? Was that still going at that time, or you mean actually Baltimore?
The vein.
The vein.
The vein.
Oh, so he was going to the Baltimore vein.
The vein. They called it the Baltimore vein.
Yep.
Yeah. And I said, I'll go anywhere. What the hell? I needed a job.
Okay, yeah.
So he said to me, you go in with old needles tomorrow morning. So, the hell, okay. So this poor old bastard, he was dead on his feet. No wonder they put me in there. They were betting on me how long I would last. He had a hand machine. Do you know what a hand machine is?
Like a hand drill? What do you... Actual hand drill?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had... You took a pick, you drove a pin in the face. as far as you could get it, it was a bar about that long with a hole in it at the end.
Sure.
And then they had a thread box with a lid on it. And that was the thread.
Uh-huh.
Then you got your drill, was a drill with threads in it.
Uh-huh.
You set it in that thread box, in a little lock there, pin, you put it in. You start going, boy, that was tough. You got your 4 foot in, then you changed over to a 2 or 3 foot drill. You drilled your openers, drilled your 3 bottoms and 2 tops, and fired. Well, I worked with that guy, maybe almost a year. I got toughened up with him because I did all the work. All he did was make the powder and fire. See, they put an old guy and a young guy together all the time, which was
Sure.
good. I was a greenhorn. I was learning from him, you know.
And the mechanical way yet.
Yeah,
No electric,
geez,
no air drill.
my arms would be lead from drilling.
Sure.
And he always insisted, get that file and file the bits. I guess 6, 8 months I worked in that vein with him. He got sick. And then I went, they had a bird eye, what they called the bird eye vein. The son of a bitch was only that high, and it was a good pitch on it.
Uh-huh.
You had to crawl on your belly, for Christ's sake, to get up there. The boss couldn't get up there because he had a big belly. So we'd go up there. 2 cars is all they wanted from that. Because you'd fire up there, you'd get it down the platform and scoop it. And that was a shift.
Uh-huh.
So I worked that for a while. Then I had a buddy here, Joe McLaugh. We're drinking in a bar one day, and he says, they're going to start something over in number 5. They're going to drive an airway. Why don't you go down and see Billy Victors and ask him for a job? Tell him you're working in the mines.
Now the number 5 being where?
Number 5 Jetta,
Okay.
over here. Right where you guys go to Eckley, where them roads come in.
Sure.
Well, if you walk over there 100 feet, we sunk a shaft down 81 feet, straight down. That bastard of a job, a lot of water, and we mucked it out with a pulley. They had a pulley and a bucket. Dumped it in a little buggy and dumped it in. Stripping was right there, we dumped it. Well, I worked that. We drove 40-some feet, 48, 49 feet in straight. We broke into the guys that was coming up from inside. And as soon as we met them, they stopped the job. That was up for the timbermen and the other guys to do the cleaning up and that.
Okay.
So I figured, geez, maybe I'm out of work. But Danny Boner was the boss, and he came to me and he said, Phil, I want you to go to drifting tomorrow. Get a hook, take your clothes. He said, you can run a scraper engine, can't you? I never seen a scraper engine. And he's there like this with all the guys around. Oh, yeah. I said, I can run a scraper engine. So that's how I got the job running scraper, you know, the bucket.
A drag.
Yeah.
You call them a drag or a
We
slusher?
called it a bucket. It was
Sure.
a V-shaped thing.
Yep.
And they were up pretty far. You couldn't see them. So we had a bell there.
Okay.
And they were, 1 up, 2 was to go ahead, 3 was to come back. And you had to go by that bell. And we'd load maybe 2, 3 cars, but they were Jetta cars. They were 5-tonners, them bastards.
Big boys.
Oh, man. You got close to 6 when you put a heap on them. And Jetta wanted them loaded. That was a good job. I worked that, I don't know, about a year. Laid off.
Mm.
They shut it down. And the two guys there, Barron went inside. He had a job inside number 5 Jetta in coal. And the other guy went to Stockton. Stockton was still digging coal. They were still mining coal and stuff. And he said, Phil, you go to see Tommy Glynn in the morning and get it. They'll tell you where to go. So I did. I went there. That was a good job. You sit there, but you had to load the car. You could only load it at half. Then you had to get down and move the car.
Mm-hmm.
You get 2 sprags in there. You know, you try to get the one sprag out and then catch it.
Yeah.
And then get her, load the other half. Then there was a little pitch there. I'd give her a little start and I'd throw the sprag in and let her go. And then the other ones I'd just bump up. One day, he said, what you better do, he said, you're getting good at that. He said, you better put some sprags along the road because you're going to miss. I won't miss. One day I had 2, I always carried 2 sprags. I missed the first one and I missed the second one. And the car started rolling, going down to the turnout. So I had to run. I run like hell, hollering, run away, run away, run away. And they heard me down at the end of the tunnel. And it hit the motor down there. They were off the motor. And it didn't do any damage, just pushed it down. So that from that, I learned. Keep enough of sprags there on that job. And I loved it. That was up in 67. Worked that, I guess, I don't know, maybe almost a year. Shut it down. They were losing the market in the cities at that time for coal. And they were starting to cut back and shut down, days off. I said, okay. Somebody said, they're hiring up in Kidder Slope for Glen Alden. I said, okay. I went up to, do you know where Kidder Slope was? There's a low-income building sitting there now. Well, they had a drift going in there. And you went in on this drift. Boy, that was a wicked. Then he said, okay, line up in the morning, 3, 4 guys. They had a belt, big wide belt. He said, everybody hold on to your lunch and roll on this belt. So 3 of us did that. Well, I got on this damn belt, and what they would do, they would stop at certain places. This belt went down, didn't go fast. And he said, when it stops the first time, you, and you get off. Well, you just rolled off. It was only that high, you couldn't stand up. What the hell did I get into? But I got off. Then you got on a jalopy, a small conveyor about that big with flights in it. And we just sat on that and they reversed it. And that took you down maybe another 150 feet. And then they stopped. Okay, everybody out. Stop. They had what they called drilling teams. The guys, 2 guys would go in and drill the cut, and they'd fire it. And then us guys would do the scoop, and that was the North Dip, he said. You're going in the North Dip. I didn't know what. And you scoop this into this conveyor. The conveyor took the coal out to the belt. And then the belt took it out to a loading station where we come in. And then it took it outside, took it up. They had a rope rider. He'd ride the car up, throw the switch. The mine car would run down, stop, and they had a railroad car there. And the car would dump the coal in the railroad car. That went to Huber. They didn't have no breaker or nothing there at Kidder Slope. It wasn't too bad. But you had to put knee pads on. Son of a bitch, your knees would get sore. You're always on your knees. And they had a skid. I showed them a skid up in Cooper's fish place along the river. That's the only place I ever saw a skid. If the drilling team was drilling over there and you needed a drill, you didn't have enough of coal, you took your jackhammer and you laid it on this skid. And then you hooked the steel cable on it and you run it up to the face. They had a bar in there and a pulley, brought it back to the jackhammer and hooked it on, and then you just drilled. And that brought your hammer up. You didn't need too many holes because it wasn't that high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So one day, the guy says, come on, we're going for props. I said, okay. Grab that hammer. Well, a hammer for props? I grabbed the hammer, a couple nails and big spikes, and we went crawling. Boy, you could see a sea of props on the right. It was all worked out. And he'd take his hammer and he'd hit the prop. And if it was loose, bang, he'd knock it out. But if it was tight, we'd move to another one. We'd get 2 or 3. We'd drive a nail in them and dynamite a wire, tie it around, and drag them all the way back to our job. And we'd put them up because we were moving ahead. I was a little wicked there. You're knocking out props. Well, I didn't care. I didn't know the danger, really, to tell you the truth, at the time. I guess I worked that. Maybe a year. I guess it was about a year. And I didn't want to get the knees busted up anymore. So Jerry Mahal, he says to me, they're hiring over at Glen Lyon number 9. I said, let's go over there. It's okay. So from there, one day we took a ride over to Glen Lyon. Well, that time the plane went over the road, the breaker. The breaker was still going. And we went in to see the boss, and we look at it. Okay, come out the bar. They had a shaft there. Got on the shaft. I didn't know where the hell I was going, but I seen everybody with the rolls of newspaper stuck in their pockets. Didn't think nothing of it. Here, the job was so far away, they rode the mine cars out to the job if you were there at time. They put the newspaper down, them cars were soaking wet, you get a wet ass sitting in them. So they'd just throw the paper down and we'd sit on that and they'd pull us out. I guess I worked out there not too long, 4 or 5 months. And it was wet. Wet everything. So I said to the boss one day, he said, to hell with this. I said, I'm going to quit. Oh, you can't quit. I said, there must be a place for me somewhere else. And he's looking, he said, all right. He said, tell you what you do. He said, wait for me out at the wash shanty tomorrow morning. Okay. So the next day I come out, I went to the wash shanty, and I waited, and he came. He said, you're going out the 30 slope. Some called it 30 slope, some called it another name. I had Billy out there. They had a manway there. And it was like a spiral manway, if you ever heard of a spiral manway. Boy, you went down on your belly. So we parked by a cemetery. You follow them guys in the car, they'll show you where to park. We parked right by the cemetery. There was a lot of room there. And we walked down the road a little bit, and there was your manway. That was old workings, Christ, I don't know how long. So we go down this manway, and when you got down, there was an inside slope there. Down again. So you'd get on that, you'd go down. You'd get off. I got off. You stand over there. Okay. As the men were coming down. You stand over there. You stand over there. There was 3 of us. And the men were coming, and finally it stopped. Everybody was down. And he looked at me. The last guy down was Gilbert Piskuski. I didn't know it at the time. He was a committee man, lived in the first #1 house in Glen Lyon. And he had a lot of pull with that company. And he shined the light around and said to Gilbert, "Which one?" Gilbert pointed. He said, "I take him." Boss said, "You go with him. Go with Gilbert." I said, "Okay." So the doors were there from the shanty. We go through the one door, and then we open and we go through the second door. When we went through the second door, Gilbert turned around, he shined the light in my eyes, and he said, "Listen, you keep your mouth shut and do what you're told, you'll have a good job." I said, "Okay." The hell did I care? Do you know what we were doing? We were pulling stumps, not pillars, stumps that was left.
Third mining.
Bad. It was pretty close to the bottom. And there was a lot of tampon sticks there. Well, we sat down. Everything is hanging. I took a light out. There was coal there in these stumps. It wasn't safe, but he said, "Listen, I'm going in today. Tomorrow, you crawl up there." Okay. Gilbert would tie maybe 4 or 5 sticks of coal powder around a tampon stick with wire, and he'd run it and sneak it in. And he'd stick it up there wherever all these lumps, everything was tilted. He'd come back, boom. Oh, that son of a bitch with the coal had come down, and a little platform there. We'd scoop. I guess we got 3 quick cars. "Well, let's go." I said, "Why?" "We're going home." I said, "Okay, you're going home, I'm going home." We went out. We went home. They didn't like Gilbert. Nobody liked that guy. And I remember the first pay, one of the guys come up to me and he said, "Hey, could I see your due bill?" I said, "Hey, here." "Oh, yeah, he's paying you." He was giving me like an extra $6 for helping him.
Wow. Quite a bit then.
It was nice, you know. Next day, Gilbert going, I'd go in and I'd try it, and then he'd go in. Finally, we cleared this stumps out. Geez. We went out one day, everything was down. Buried the goddamn car and everything that they had pushed in that night. Okay, we started on the other side a little bit with these stumps. In the meantime, I stopped at Torrey's to have a drink of his night shift with Gilbert. And the guy says, "Where are you coming from?" And he could see me. You know how the black stays under your eyes. He said, I said, "I'm up in Glen Lyon." I said, "I'm laboring up there for a guy." "You want a job in 40 Shaft? They're going to start a work the big vein. They got the tunnel almost through." I said, "Yeah, sure." He said, "But you got to have mining paper. See, in 40 Shaft, there was no laborers per se. To get a job there, you ought to have mining papers. Like you and I. We were buddies, but we had to be a miner before they'd hire you. So I had to go. I didn't have no mining papers. I was just a laborer at that time. So I went to see Pete Dreamock. He was another committee man. He said, "I got to get mining papers. I'm going to start. Oh, he said, you're going to start in there? I said, yeah. Come with me. We went down to a bar room over there in McAdoo. This guy needs a set of papers. Well, you got to buy a drink. So got half loaded there, but I got my mining papers. I said, God, that's how I got them. And I come back, and when Buddy worked with Blue Ridwick, and his brother was the cross shifter. And we started this. Well, the tunnelmen had just broke into the coal. So we had to go in on the hammer and plug it all out, make it nice, put a chute in, get everything ready. I had no idea what a pitch job was at that time, but I learned, and this guy told me. He did it before. He was a good guy, showed me lots. So I start working there on that. I guess that's where I told you how to dig. I dug a small hitch. He said, hey, dig a bigger hitch with my dickie. He said, get it down there, get it down. Get your prop down, get the spad, start all the way up. And it was a good job. It was high coal. We worked that. We went up 50 feet, drove ahead and to the right because there was nobody on our left. Went in 25 feet with the head, and we started up, 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 up. And he said, well, it's time for a battery. You have to put a battery in there. Because if you let that coal come down over 100 feet, when you fire, she'd take everything out. So you had to take planks and nail them along from leg to leg to leg, so you don't knock them out. And you carried a full chute. You boarded it right up to the top. Your manway on your left carried that solid. And you learned when you drilled, if you could carry a full chute, you drilled. If not, we'd put lagans across. And we'd dig some coal so we could stand on it and drill. Then the company men come in, they put tubing in. I guess it was about 10-inch tubing with a big fan down there for air for us. They put our air line in. We had to put our firing line in. And I says to Blue one day, I said, that fan ain't working too goddamn good. I said, let's use the compressed air. Oh, geez, no, that's a mortal sin. Because you're taking air off the next guy, for drilling. But we used to do that once in a while. To blow it out, because where's it going to go? You're stuck up there. It didn't move. You had to get that smoke out of there. So that's what we did there for a long time. When we get up to the stop sign, we start pulling the right. Widening out, they called. And man, we drove a slant from, our bottom rock, a sheet iron pitch, nice, all the way back to the top rock. And then we start widening. But we carried timber. We just put small sets in there just to get up. And boy, when that started coming, we loaded, we had it figured. They only worked 3 days, 4 days a week. For $35 a piece, we had to load 15 cars and take a cut out of a slant or a set of timber. See, we were driving and pulling at the same time. When you're pulling one slant, you drove another one on your right, if you wanted to. You didn't want to, but it was money. So that's what we did. And they would measure. Too bad I can't find that damn do-bill. The boss would come in, take this and measure how many yards. They gave us $4.45 a yard. Every yard we drilled, that slant that we wasn't working on, $5.54 for a set of timber that we put up. I think $1 for a sheet iron or something we put in there. You made your own pitch. And we worked that big vein. And when we pulled back, we only had a small draw hole because that stuff would come, like I said, the big rocks come and everything. He would get out from under the timber one day, and I would get out the next day. If there was something there, had to be smashed. Coal, rock, to open it up and let the rest of the coal come down in that slant, down to the main chute, and then down to the gangway. That's what we did. But there's one day, it was my turn to go out from under the timber, and there was a piece of coal came down, a chunk. It must have been about that thick. And it come down and it wedged right at our draw hole. And he was there barring and he tried to pick it. He looked at me and said, no, I said, I'll go in and try to smash it. If not, why, hand me a couple sticks of 60, you know.
The 60 that you were...
We always had that on hand. I had to buy them whiskey and beer in a barroom, though, to get that 60. So I remember crawling in the damn hole, and I was taught always to listen. You listen. Because if anything's moving or working, you'll hear it tick, tick. Little pieces will be falling off. I shined my light around, I listened, I didn't hear nothing. But I'm hunched over, see, because it's small in there. I took the pick, I figured I can smash that son of a bitch maybe with this pick. I was on my knees, and I took the pick, and the first swing, that's all I remember, the whole back come down and covered me. Mm. I was stunned and out for a while. The helmet saved me. You should see, I should have saved that goddamn helmet. It smashed it. And it pushed my face down into that lump that I was cracking. And he said to pick one right up alongside my head. If I'd have been over a little bit, to pick it right through my head. So he pulled me down with my boots. He started getting the coal away. Well, when I got down to the head in there, or to the slant, boy, I felt, the blood started coming around. I said, I better get to the hospital. Yeah, he said, so I slid on my ass down that slant sheet iron, down to the main job that we were coming up, our manway. So I got down there, and I walked down. And I got down, and he said, you got to go to the hospital. Yeah, he said, come on, we'll take you out. See, at the shaft, they had a shaft and they had a slope. He said, we'll take you out to the slope. Because this was night shift, they were hoisting coal on a shaft. I got out to the bottom. It was a pretty good walk. We got out there, the guy said, no. He said, you go back. And they'll stop hoisting coal and they'll hoist you out the shaft and get you out of here. So, okay. So they hoisted me back out. And they said, when I got out to the wash shanty there and I got off the cage, I guess I was in shock, probably. So they took my ass to the hospital and they cleaned me up as best they could. They cut my clothes off me. And I never knew I was cut that bad. And they cleaned me. See, they didn't know them days what they know today. They'd have probably sucked that coal dirt out. But they just sewed me up quick. Because I was bleeding like a pig. I don't know how long I was in the hospital. I don't know, a week, 2 weeks. Then I come out, and I never went back to that job. Something made me know and was making money. We were making money at that time. We make $35 a piece a day. That was good money. 1950, 51, 52, 53. Well, they sent me to the company doctor. It was Doc Sharkey in West Hazel. I still think he has a relative or brother, cousin or something still. He was a company doctor. And he looked at me and he sent me to an eye doctor. See where that went? He said, "You're lucky your eye's there." He said, "But I would get healed up before you go back to work." He said, "I don't want to see you lose the sight of your eye." I said, "Hell no." So at that time, the only thing you got was $35 a week compensation. See, we had no hospitalization in United Mine Work until 1969. That's when they gave us hospitalization. She had more hospitalization with the Jew in the factory than I did to cover me. So they patched me up, and I wanted to get back to work. So I would go back and forth, and Sharky called me over and he said, "Come here." He said, "You know what they're going to do with you?" I said, "Hell, I don't know. I want to go to work." I said, "Give me a slip for light work." Well, what the hell is no light work in the mines? There is, if you know the way. He said, "They're going to have a compensation case on a disfigurement for your face." I said, "Okay." He said, "They'll pay you so much an inch for that scar." Okay. But every week you're off, they're going to deduct $35 off your total, whatever they offer you. I said, "What?" That's the way the compensation bastards worked that time. For every week I was off, when they offered me $1,000 or $800, they deducted all the weeks I was home. Yeah. So I thought, Jesus, I better get back to work. I go back, I see Johnny Johnson, prince of a man. Anybody's in heaven, he should be. He's the head man down the 5th level. I went in. Johnny was off that day. I went in, I said, I got the slip. I said, for light work, anything. Showers, tuners, tobacco, spit needing. You're going with them two guys. I looked at 2 big Montenegros. They were giant guys. They were putting in gangway timber in some gangway. I don't remember where. So I went in with them. Jeez. Moving big collars and legs like that, putting them up and spragging them.
They figured that was light work for a guy like you.
I was seeing lightning when I'd put my head down. So I come back and I said, the next day, Sowers there, same place. I said, I ain't going in there. They didn't know how to work for you. I said, I better wait here, because Jimmy Tellerico was a committee man on the 5th level. And I talked to Jimmy out at the wash hand. He said, you wait for me at the bottom when you go down. And Jimmy was the last man down. Come here. Sowers. He said, don't you ever put this guy in there again. Give him a shovel and let him go out and clean along the road and make a car call anywhere. Don't put him in there. Sowers is spitting fire. He don't like to be told, but Johnny told him because he was a notch higher. Well, I did that 1 or 2 days, and then went out one day. Johnny Johnson said, how'd you like to be a laborer in Chutes and Edmonds? Oh, geez. I said, sure. See, when somebody was off, broken leg, or got killed, or was sick, you filled in. They'd send me in. Well, geez, I knew that kind of work up on a pitch. It wasn't dragging big timbers and lifting. So I did that for quite a while for company work. Finally, he says one day to me, I got a job for you. It's a straight pitch job. Do you want it? Sure, I'll take it. Zigzag. Top, bottom row, top, all the way up. And I could do that. I don't know what the hell the guy's name was I worked with. So me and him went in. Good job. And one day, we went up. The other shift broke through some old workings. You could just see a little hole shine the light down there. See? I'm going up. I had the lamp. Boom, boom, boom. The damn head start pounding. Try to light the lamp. Won't light. I said, get the hell out of here quick. Let's go. And we go down. And we got down the gangway. He threw up. He was sick. I just laid there. We got a belly full of black damp. And then in the meantime, the boss came in and he looked at us. He said, you see the sign up there? See, the fire boss, he's supposed to test them. Every job before we go up in the morning, he goes around before you start. And if there's gas, he tests and he marks the date and his initials that he was there testing for gas. We never saw the sign. Cocky, hurry up. Well, Matty, I come home, boy, my head. I stopped in Tours. I said, give me a double shot and a beer, Angie. Stud Kennedy's sitting there on the side. He's looking at me. He said, you look a little peaked, Phil. I said, yeah. Me and my buddy got a belly full of black damp. He said, every whiskey bottle on that shelf ain't going to help you. He said, you go home and go to bed. And that's what I did. And it went out of me to sleep. When I got up, I was clear. They shut that job down for a couple of days. We were just laboring here and there. Then we went back. And boy, the coal was dry. Coal was coming like hell. We go out one day, the guy in the wash hand, the second layup, he said, your name's on that list over there. He said, don't come back. You're off. So a guy come down, he said, hey, Phil, your name's on there. It was second layoff. I was laid off. Now, what the hell am I going to do? But when I came down for the job down here, when I quit Gilbert, it was the next year, miner's vacation. I said, I'm going up and see Gilbert. Have a couple of drinks with him. He was a sour old guy, Nobody liked him. Nobody. I don't know why. I got along with him. I just did what he told me. But anyway, I go in Rivers Bar. The building's still there in Glen Lyon. And I says to the bartender, I'm looking for an old buddy of mine. I worked over here in number 9 with Gilbert Paskusky. He looked at me, he said, you ain't ever going to see Gilbert Paskusky again. I said, what do you mean? He said, a rock come down, squashed him like a bug. Right after I had left. I asked him about what time of the year it was. And it was about a month or so after I left them. Taking chances. Poor Gilbert took too many.
You only get so many.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Killed him. I looked for his tombstone. We never found it. But with old Needles, we were leaving pretty early. And I had my copper water bottle, and, cocky, I emptied my water bottle. We're going out. We're going out to the bottom. Get the hell out of there. What are you doing? I said, I ain't lugging this water all the way up. He said, you ain't outside yet. You never dump your water till you get outside. Made sense. Because it was a long way out to the bottom to get out of there. We had to go out and get on that man car, the inside slope, go up, crawl out the man way up to the cemetery, get in your car, drive to the wash-in. And that made sense to me. Never dump your water out till you get outside. But those are little things that I learned. And then I went to Huber. They were laying off down here. I couldn't get on nowhere, so Tommy Wilkerson says they were putting a turnpike in the Northeast Extension. He said, listen, come on up, he said. We'll get a job. We'll work the summer months, then we'll quit. We'll go on the highway. He said, I can get you a job on the highway. Then when the cold weather comes, we'll go back in the mines. He said, Kavanaugh will hire us back. Okay. That's what we did. Worked, and then I went back to Huber. I worked there for a while. Then they started the silt plant up. And I come down here and I went to work in a silt plant. But that's a lot of years in between now, what I'm telling these guys. Mm-hmm. And I worked there 11 years. Yeah, I worked at the 40 shaft. They came after me to run railroad cars. I ran empties and loadeds. Allie Kissin wanted the first day of deer season off. He was day shift, I was night shift car runner, and he said to me, how about switching? I want to go deer hunting the first day. I didn't hunt. I was done with it. It's okay. I'll come out day shift. So I come out day shift. It was the same job, only a different shift. I had a Redding car, and I was coupling up to a Pensy. And the draw head on that son of a bitch was bent. It was way over. They would swing when they were wore out, them draw heads on them big railroad cars. And this one swung way over and it didn't couple up, and it pushed me right up against the other car. And I had my hand in here. And it busted my hand and split my pelvic bone. I don't know how I got down off that car with one hand. And I went up, I walked, and they took me to the hospital. That's when I was working for the mine, the underground.
Oh, the rescue team.
Yeah. They came to the hospital to see me. He said, son of a bitch, he said, one of our guys get hurt. I said, well, what the hell are you going to do? You know? And then I never went back.
And that was at the 40 shaft?
No, that was at number 7. I went to 40 shaft first.
Okay.
They called me over there. They were stripping coal and mine coal. They were dumping. Oh, they had a fire job over at Claire's somewhere. Because I remember that Hesse was bringing that coal in a 10-wheeler that was red hot. I'd dump in there and you'd see the steam flying from the water in the chutes, you know. And I guess after I got hurt there, I couldn't go back. Jesus, pelvic bone, I didn't walk for I don't know how long. And my hand, they give me physical therapy for this. See, I can't do much with that. That's the way that son of a bitch stays. I can just pick a little bit. Mandolin. But that was the end of that. that was the end of that job over there.
Amazing. And just to clarify, the 40 shaft was which coal company?
Lehigh Valley.
That was Lehigh Valley
Yes.
40 shaft.
That was
Yeah.
the Hazel shaft.
That was the Hazelden shaft.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's Hazel. Well, we always called it 40. It was Hazel Shaft.
Yeah.
It was Lehigh Valley. They had lots. They had darns up here. Yeah. Oh, that's about all I could remember. There's some other stuff again.
Let's talk about the
What
rescue
was-
team a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh.
When you joined the rescue team, how that all came about,
Well,
what you did.
Walter Vincentelli, he said, well, you follow me down to the Nico Allen Hotel in Pottsville. And that's where we meet. And we're going to go through a safety course, you know. The same stuff I should, that firing line, the gas, how to check for gas, white damp, black damp, all of that stuff. See, some of them places up there, it was all worked out. I remember I worked one place with a miner. He wanted to check for gas. It was maybe 12, 14 feet high, old workings. He took a glove, turned it inside out, and he put it on a tampon stick. And he hung the lamp on the tampon, on one of the fingers of the glove. And he get that all the way up to the roof to see if there was any gas up. It was a good idea. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. The little things like that they taught me that I learned, you know.
I guess you were never called out anywhere when you were on the rescue squad.
No. I have a letter here somewhere too. Yeah, they put the air tanks on you and stuff, and you had they closed number 1 slope down. The letter's here somewhere. I don't know what that. So they disbanded it. But at that time, he told me, he said, you might even be sent to soft coal, you know, if they need us. Well, all them guys, I met them and we talked together every so often, bullshit, and we'd go for a couple hoovers, you know. Yeah, I never went on a deep mine rescue squad, but I belonged to them, and I had the training for them. I could have went anywhere. They were good. They taught you good safety. Oh yeah.
Sounds a lot like it still is today, actually.
Huh?
Sounds a lot like it still is today. You know, I still am on the Tremont Mine Rescue Team.
Oh, are you?
So, yeah.
You ever hear of Walter Vincentelli?
No.
I met a bunch of guys with the team down at number 9 mines here about 6 years ago. They remembered him.
Oh, okay.
When I mentioned his name.
Uh-huh.
They had the new lamps there and the new batteries.
Sure.
Yeah, I was looking, holy Jesus, did this place change? Yeah, everything changed, you know, from what I remember.
Now, when you started, you always had electric cap lamps, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the carb was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all electric. One time the one went dead in drifting. I had to go out and get another lamp. Yeah, the lamp man, you know, you had a number and you just give it to him. He popped the top, shoved it in, charge it for the next day for you. I don't know whatever happened to mine, but she went dead when I went down there. I had to come back and get another one. Yeah.
Not fun when it happens up a blind chute.
Ooh. See, they gave us portal to portal. They don't give you that no more. If you had from the time you got off the bottom to your job, I forget what the time was. If you couldn't make it to your job in that time, they gave you so much money, $8 or something, to pay for that time you lost to go in there. Portal to portal. I only got that once or twice when we had a long job. to go in.
Yeah, to pay to travel the long distance along.
Yeah, oh Jesus Christ, that was. See in the coal in Drifton was a lease, a Lehigh Valley. That was Cox Brothers. Jetta Highland leased that mine, and there was hell. They was going to go on strike because Drifton had a 4-ton car, Jetta had a 5-ton car. But when Jetta took it over, they threw the 4-ton car out and put the 5-ton car in and only paid them for the 4-ton. So there was a lot of hell there. They were going to go on strike. And they come to some kind of an agreement there. I don't know what it was.
Speaking of hell in the mines, one of my favorite parts of working underground, other than the weather, and I do mean that, being out of the elements, is just the camaraderie and the pranks and the things that people do to each other that you wouldn't necessarily find in another job. It's a crude environment, as you know. It can be very. I'm sure you have a few. You got to have some stories there somewhere of people getting mad at other people and laughing, other guys laughing and snickering in the shanty.
George Rahal. This is on the 5th level in the shaft. You know, water is more important than eat when you're down there, when you're sweating. Because George loved to drink. And I drank with him in the Stockton Cafe 3, 4, 5 times. But a Monday morning was bad because George was drunk maybe all Saturday and Sunday. But he'd come out and we always hid our water. We never took it up. We'd hide it somewhere down where your manway started, you know. They'd steal it on you. Guys would take a drink or they'd drink it all. So this one day, George must have been out on a bender and he was thirsty. He come down. He was all sitting there eating peacetime, 9 o'clock, 9:15, something. I don't know what time it was. He goes over, he gets his bottle. Empty. Oh, you son of a bitch, he said. So there's 4, 5, 6 guys, 2, 3 jobs in, sitting there. Okay, you bastards, he said, whoever drank this water, who drank it? Who drank my water? He pulled his dickie out and he took the top off the copper water bottle and he rubbed it all over the water bottle. He said, now you sons of bitches, I do this every morning. Now here, who wants it? And old Georgie, yeah. Yeah.
That's the stuff. That's
in my water. Yeah.
I have lots of crazy stories like that. Oh my gosh, just silly things that happen. Guys always picking on each other down there.
Yeah.
I feel like always watching out, you know, but always just the same. Always picking.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to steal up in Huber. That one job I was down the Red Ash. They had an old turnout there. We would steal 1 or 2 empties off of somebody, you know. See, it was hard sometimes to get empties. I don't know how it is today. Them days it was hard to get empties. If you had a job, the motor come in and we had a clock. I don't know, you said. Most guys that had good jobs and loading a lot of coal had a clock. And we put it right where you're going up the job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, you push that hand down to how many empties you want because you couldn't hear the motor coming in the morning. You know, you'd be up there working and you wanted 6. Jesus Christ, you'd have to come down, maybe you missed them, and just put 6 there. Well, then when they coming in, the patcher on a motor would Okay, them guys want 6. And they tried to give you 6 empties. Next guy wanted 3. They tried to give him 3. Try to give him enough of cars. That's the way you got paid. Just put your ticket on there. And they were pretty smart like that, because we counted. We counted our tickets. We want, you know, you work too goddamn hard to be juked out of a car of coal. So we always made sure we never come short. I know 1 or 2 other guys came short. Say they loaded 18 in 10 days or something, or company work, and they got tickets for 16 or something. That was bad.
Would the motorman be the one tagging the cars, actually tagging them as they got loaded? It would be whoever the laborer was, whoever was loading them. Okay.
I was the guy who had to put the ticket on.
Mm-hmm.
And they had nothing to do with the tickets. Till they got outside, then when the car went over, they took your ticket and they hung it on the nail there with your number on it. Yeah. And the motorman there, and the patcher, we always bought him gloves.
The patcher.
The patcher is the guy that hooks up the trip of cars. See, the motorman can't move that trip until he gets a word from the patcher. The patcher is the guy that hooks the cars up, unhooks them and hooks them, because he might be in there and you kill him. He gotta wait until he gets that from maybe 7, 8, 10 cars ahead. You know, in the mines you had to wait for that signal, and then they pull out. He couldn't move it until he got. We call him a patcher. I don't know where else they would. They never loaded that many. How many did you ever load? 8, 10, 12, 15?
6.
Well,
6 is the max I've ever loaded. 6 rock cars, so.
Yeah, and there was nobody else alongside of you looking for cars, was there?
No. There was one crew underground, and I was, at that particular mine, responsible for the whole trip. So I would have been the patcher and the motorman.
Oh.
I had never heard that term patcher before. That's a new one.
Oh, yeah, that's patcher.
Yep.
Yeah. 2 men on the motor.
Yeah, it was just one where I was.
And you had to hook them up?
Mm-hmm.
And then get back on the motor?
This was actually believe it or not, this was a silver mine out in Idaho, and we had a like a winged off gangway, a little rock tunnel.
Yeah.
And we'd put the cars in there, and we'd back the first car out and put it up by the mucker. They'd muck that first car full, and then come back, grab another car, come back to switch, and then go back out to the mucker, and then you have an empty. You know, you always have an empty on the end. He fills that car,
Right.
come back to the switch, go in, grab the next empty, go back until the trip was full, and outside you go. It was
Okay.
a tunnel mine. So.
Yeah. How much did you get in the car?
Those were 5-tonners.
5 ton.
Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty big. Side dump. Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
side dump.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep Phil on the stories, but one time I went out, it was winter time in Idaho on the side of a hill, and the side dump was over the side of a fairly steep bank. I mean, like at least 45, not 50-degree pitch where we were dumping the rock off. Maybe it was more, hard to say now. And I took the trip out, and you come out of the tunnel, and it goes to the bank, the track curves, and it comes up to the side dump where the wheels, there was wheels on the side of the car that run up on the dump, and it turns the whole car and it dumps over this bank. Well, one time I went out and there was this boom, and what the heck was that? So I stopped the motor, I get off and I look, well the car had jumped the track, but it jumped that the flange was still on the head of the rail. Oh, well, that's not good. Okay. I managed to get the car back on the rails. Okay, dump the rest of them. Back in the mine I go. Well, a few trips later, when I brought another loaded out, here I am dumping, and I think it was the third car back, jumped the track again. But this time when it jumped, it started to go over that bank. And when it went over that bank, it took all 5 of the cars, save for one, the one next to the motor, and left the motor in that last car on the tracks. And the rest of them, 5-ton mine cars. If you want to see a sight, watch 5-ton mine cars going end over end, bouncing off the ground and flying through the air and bouncing off the ground.
Yeah.
All the way to the bottom.
Ooh.
That one, I jumped off the motor pretty quick that day.
Oh, sure.
And of course,
Were they big motors?
That was a... I can't remember if that was like a 7-ton or a 10-ton Greensburg motor. I can't remember. And we had little Mancha trammers. You ever see those?
No.
No, they're just little. They're just short. I mean, geez, if I was sitting on it, the end of it would be before the couch. Tiny little things.
No, I never seen it.
Yeah. You mentioned before about the 60, and I want to bring this up again.
Yeah.
And I guess kind of explain the different powders, first of all, because anybody, I know what 60 is, 40, 30, whatever there was, but okay, all good. But the 60 powder, what you guys normally use in the coal, but what the 60 was and how you would get it, and
Well, yeah. Well, the 30 was regular coal powder. It was stamped red H for Hercules. But that wasn't no good on tunnel rock. You know what tunnel rock is? Hard, the hardest son of a bitch of a rock you could find just about. And coal powder would never break that unless you got a real thin piece. But if you got a big chunk, you needed 60% nitro. And they were smaller sticks. They were like that, where the coal powder was. What did you use out there?
these days it was Colite 8SU, which was the coal powder, and they didn't go by percents or anything, so I'm not sure exactly how it differs from Colite to Gel Z was the rock powder. That's the nasty stuff. And then there was another powder that's used as pasters called 7D, so like mud caps. And
He's had that, yeah.
7D, and that one you take out of the paper and smash it up like Play-Doh. And, you know.
Yeah.
The other stuff didn't work so well. It's just not sticky. It kind of break apart, and it didn't really work for mud caps so well. But that 7D is just made for it. So on our draws, go up, we get a big rock, and depending on the size of the rock, the thickness of it, or how it was shaped, or whatever, you might pick a little hole in it. You might have to drill a hole in it. Maybe you could just stick a piece right on it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, all I knew was 30-60. And in the 90s or something, I never had no idea. And then they jumped up to fertilizer and stuff. What the hell, they got a new one now they're using as Strippin's Primacord.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Yeah.
That's fast, that bastard. You touch it here, it goes off in Neckley. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, modern blasting stuff.
Yeah. And what the hell did the Army have, C4 or something? Mm-hmm. That stuff you just make a little ball and stick it anywhere. But that's all we used was Red H down here.
Now, when you got a big rock, say you're up at your battery props on the run,
Yeah.
and you got a big rock that was blocking the flow of coal, how would you get the 60? If you wanted 60 powder, how would you get it?
Oh, I always stuck it somewhere up there.
But you had to get it from somewhere to hide it.
Well, I walked all the way out to the tunnel men, to the rock contractor. Jeffries was from West Virginia. He was a rock contractor in 40 Shaft. I knew the two guys pretty good there. And I'd go, here he comes. Go ahead, but be careful. I'd fill my boots up with maybe 6 or 8 sticks of 60, and away I'd go. Well, you need it instead of running back and forth, then I'd hide it. We'd hide it there. In the head and way away from the face, You just dig out a little place and get a paper bag and stuff it in there, leave it there.
Would you hide it from the bosses or from the
Oh
other guys?
yeah. They didn't want you using that. No. And they didn't want you firing from the trolley line either.
Tell us about that.
Well, when you were close to the gangway, we would we'd run maybe 100 feet, a wire, look around, see if any lights are coming. Put a piece on the rail, put your boot on it, and ping! As soon as you touch that son of a bitch of a trolley line, she'd set 90 holes off. That was a no-no, though. Yeah, you just ground it, just put it on a rail.
With yourself, sure, yeah.
And a lot of tricks them guys had. It was a good. Once that gets in you, I didn't mind it at all. Money was good, the hours were short, It was all right. Well, I don't know what else I could think of. There might be some stuff back here.
There probably is. I know there is.
Yeah.
Did it give you a good life?
Do you think that the industry, would you say that it provided a good life for yourself and your 5 children?
Yeah.
And you lived here since 1960
60.
in Freeland, right?
Yeah. I had a little side job with tire casings, recapping down there. I'd go and work for an hour, $1 an hour maybe in that little shop, maybe once or twice a week for a couple of bucks. That was mostly beer money, Yeah. It was touch and go sometimes here. Well, a woman took a little job in a factory over here. That used to be a dress factory. The Jews had a shirt factory. I worked in a cigar factory when I was a kid, 15, 14 years old. I needed mining papers, but the guy didn't take any. I didn't need them. I needed to go ahead and work. That's what but it was mostly mining. It wasn't for everybody. I don't know if you've seen it, but lots of them left the boots, the lamp, the helmet, the belt, everything in a wash shanty. Never come back. Send me the pay.
Mm-hmm.
They were scared.
Yeah. Saw it a couple times. Mostly over dust.
My brother-in-law came here one day. We were sitting at the table in there, and I had to pay my due bill. We called the due bill, and I had the money. And holy Jesus, he says, is that the kind of money you're making? I said, yeah. I said, you can get a job, but they were hiring up there at that time. I said, you can get a job up there, George, go ahead. Yeah, he said, what do I need? I said, well, your old man was a miner. He's retired now. He had asthma back. I said, I seen helmets and a pair of boots and a lamp belt in your garage. Take that with you and go up. Okay, next day he goes up, takes the stuff, gets a job. Well, the mines, there's a lot of sections. I don't know. I looked for him. I couldn't find him. I looked all over. So about 3 days later, I would take a drive over to Upper Lehigh to see him, because we were married to 2 sisters, his brother-in-law and I. I said, hey, where the hell are you? I don't see you in the wash shanty, don't see you. That's combat, he said. Quit one shift. One shift. He couldn't do it. Scared.
Wow.
Scared. He said, I'm always looking. I said, you're always looking up. You don't look up. Shovel. I know. Everybody was so sensitive. I had a big Moran up there one day says to me, hey, you big hunk, you grab that shovel and follow me. I said, okay. If it had called somebody that today, they'd want to sue him or something. We never held that against anybody.
How was the ethnic diversity in the mines when you worked there, when you worked in the region? Because I know even back then, I'm sure that different towns were fairly ethnically separated.
Yeah.
The Italians, the Irish, the Slovenians.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, did you mostly, did you work with anybody and everybody? Did you stay?
Yeah, I didn't care.
Okay.
Make no difference. Make no difference. Some guys were a little touchy. They wouldn't work with this or that.
Mm-hmm.
In Hubert, they had 3 blacks came from Scranton, and they gave them a job. They didn't last no time. They came in a big, long Chrysler. And the boss told me, he said, Jesus, he said, I have a hard enough job trying to keep track of them because they were scared. He said, all you see was the eyes flashing, and then wash Andy, the bastards, would be throwing the bar of soap, catching it, and throwing it to him and washing it. Big fun, you know, it was fun to them. They didn't last long. A couple bucks pay, and they pulled out. But we had everything there, Jesus. Lithuanian, Polak, Slovak, Irish, Italian. Monconagua, I used to take a guy to Monconagua. There was a bunch of Italian people over there. They were okay. No problem with them.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Do you remember at Huber when they tried to mechanize somewhat and they dropped down some soft coal equipment down the shaft?
No. No.
We have pictures of it, and I just thought maybe that would be, you know.
I went through it a couple of times with Billy before they took it down. Well, I used to watch them spray it with blue coal with the dye. They had the sprays. The railroad car was moving slow under there while they were loading it, and these sprays would just made it look nice. Didn't do anything to the coal. For the city people, they burned a little blue flame. That's all. It's a promotional thing. But Glen Alden, blue coal, and Jeddah Island, aristocrat of anthracite. That's what they called it. Yeah.
So overall, what do you think was your favorite place to work? What was your favorite job and your favorite mine that you worked at?
That pitch job.
The pitch job.
Well, I was young and strong. I'd grab 2 lagons on this side, 2 lagons on this side. I'd crawl up that son of a bitch. Didn't bother me a bit because you're in shape. You're in good shape.
In the Mammoth.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't bother me a bit. Take a sheet iron, take a pick, poke a hole in it, drive a nail in it, tie a wire, and drag it all the way up. Once you got it up there, you try to save it for the other side. You know, sometimes you didn't, you blew it to hell, but air, the company men were supposed to take care of that tubing, so we got air up there, but they were slow. I used to hook a piece of tubing up myself. I'd drag it from the gangway, maybe 8-10 foot. Clip it onto the one that was up there and give us some air when you're drilling.
And that was, I think you said, over at the 40?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huber, Glen Alden, their firing line, they had the worst son of a bitch of a firing line that we ever saw. It was rubberized. I don't know why they ever made a rubberized firing line. The trouble with it, if it broke, say you fired and something come down, hit it, broke it, to find that break, you had to go through the whole line and be stretching. And soon when you found the break, then it would stretch. The wire wasn't connected. And that was time consuming, you know. You had to go cut the bastard off, get a new piece. But like anywhere else, they didn't want you to do that. They want you to splice it. But that was terrible. Regular firing line, if it broke, it broke. You spliced it, taped it, and went on. But that rubberized, I don't know who the hell ever sold on that deal. But that was one of the bad things that we had in Glen Alden.
And the regular firing line was just straight copper then? It didn't have a coating on?
Yeah, yeah. This was there was 2 wires in the rubberized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was 2 of them in there. And if one broke, or a lump fell on it, and just crimped it or broke it, you had a hell of a time finding it. The easiest way was to cut it and run a new. They didn't want you to do that. They'd try to save, save money. But, and when the one thing I learned when we were up there, well, we dropped down when we were firing to the next heading. Sometimes not even heading, we'd stay in the manway and fire. But the smoke wouldn't go out. That was the trouble with that pitch job. The air was bad up there, bad. But we had some good bosses. Joe, what's the name? He'd come in, he'd give me the tape, and we'd measure the slant we were on, for the 2 weeks. You always started contract work with the company at the end of 2 weeks. You didn't start in the middle of 2 weeks. It was always better to start like a new pay period. So then it was better for them, better for you. You kept track of your cars and what you bought. Because they charge us for wire, charge us for powder, charge us for caps, but not 60. I took care of the 60.
So back then, were you still buying from basically a company store, or could you get powder, caps, wire from independent suppliers around the region?
Not if you're working for them.
They wanted you to buy.
Yeah, you had to buy everything from them.
Okay.
Yeah. I seen them already in 40 shop. You're getting off the cage in the morning. The boss would have a list there, certain guys. I see you didn't buy any coal from us in the last 6 months. Why? Well, some guys I couldn't do that. Like, some guys selling a ton cheaper, $1 cheaper a ton rather. And they're working for Lehigh Valley and they're buying off a gypsy to save $1 a ton. Come on, that's bread and butter. They're paying me. I ought to be man enough to buy their coal. That's the way I looked at it now. I would never buy from another coal company. Some of the truckers wanted you to buy. They'd say, I can get it cheaper here, cheaper there. Jockey Casab, I said, nope, you haul from 40 Shaft. That's where I work, that's where I want my coal. No more than right, I think. Mm-hmm. At that time. Well, there's a lot of things, I guess. Good times and bad times. One time, I'll never forget, we're all sitting around on a night shift. We also sit around the cage, the shaft. They were heisting, they'd heist coal till 1 o'clock, maybe 1:15. Then they'd start dropping you. 10 men at a time on a cage, Whatever made me get up, never said nothing to my buddy. I just walked away, walked back to the wash shanty, changed my clothes, and went home. Something made me do that. Why? I don't know. What the hell is the matter with you? He said, my buddy. I said, nope, something come over me. I just said I ain't going down today. And I didn't. Who knows? You don't know. And we used to, when you were up that high, you had to listen. I don't know, do you listen?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you have to.
Boom, boom, boom. That's 5. Boom, okay, that's 6. But if you only 5 went off and you drilled 6, you had to sit. You sat there a good half hour. Only twice we did that. I don't know what was wrong. Was it a cap or was it? And we went up and we drilled a hole about that far from the one that stuck. Maybe 10 inches. Nice and easy. Fill her up and boom. How'd you put your cap in your dynamite?
Split the end, roll it, and stick it in the end that goes in first.
Yeah, well, we cut ours too. We
powder.
we cut every stick.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're tamping, it would squish together better. But we used a nail. Always had a nail, and I just poke it in the top of it.
Right.
Stick the cap in, loop it, pull it down, put it in.
Now legally, the half hitch is supposed to happen, but maybe I didn't all the time. Yeah, we with the nail actually too as well. 20 penny usually worked pretty good for that.
Yeah.
16.
20 penny was better. Yeah.
Yep. Make sure it's in there. And I've had enough times myself where you're counting your shots. Boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. Uh-oh. Where was that last one?
Yeah.
And you wait a little while. And I think by rights you're supposed to wait a half hour. But,
Yeah, I guess you are. I guess by right.
Yeah, I got to get this round out.
Yeah.
I got to get my next round out.
Sure.
If you're trying to get 2 or 3 rounds a day and go up and see what happened. Sometimes when the shots went, it got ripped out. Sometimes a couple times, one in particular just didn't go. Bad cap. Figured out with a ohm meter.
How long of a hole?
Tried for 6.
That's 3 do.
Yep.
5 or 6. If it got too damn hard at 5.5, you quit. And you said,
Yeah.
"What? You put an opener in?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Usually opener right in this, depending on the pitch or what we're doing. In the gangways, I'd put a little bit of a wedge, like an angle cut or angle opener, and then go around accordingly.
Yeah.
And going up the pitch, taking a breast up, I just put a little opener right in the center, kind of towards the bottom coal. Like out at Carline Coal, for example, that coal was real soft, a little bit shelly. There was a little bit of shelly coal towards the bottom.
Yeah.
I try to get close to that because you know that's going to come out easy.
Yeah.
And then
You'd blow that shit right out of it.
and you get good in the headings.
Yeah.
Your shoulders make you get good in the headings to lift the coal out of the heading and make most of it go down.
Yeah.
You know, always fire your bottoms first and have them angled just so that it
Yep.
pulls it up out, sends it down the pitch instead of shoveling it out. Yeah.
I hated the shovel. Jesus, I hated the shovel. Well, the one job I went on, I forget where it was. What do you shovel, lefty or righty? I said, either way. Okay, get over there. Because I could. I learned to shovel lefty and I learned to shovel righty. Because when you were in a gangway or, extra work again. This side of the car, this side of the car.
And depending on the pitch and how it was,
Yeah.
you can't always shovel into the top.
Yeah. Yep. Left or righty.
Did you drive much gangway?
No, not too much. No. A little bit. The only gangways when we drove that airway, we drove in 40-some feet. And, but in coal gangways, no. I labored 1 or 2 jobs, but I never worked steady in a gangway.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to what they call shoots and headings. Give me the shoots and headings, I'll take it. You're crazy. I said, give it to me.
No, yeah.
You take the shaker shoot. We had a shaker shoot in Sugar Notch right before I left. It was an air shaker shoot.
Whew, loud.
And the damn thing would freeze up. And you had to go down and knock the frost and ice off it. It would stop it. That their exhaust would freeze. And you had to go down. There we used bradish, a lot of bradish to get the air circulating. Because the air wasn't too damn good there in that section. And bad air will make you weak.
Absolutely. I know that. I know running drag, it used to freeze up a lot. The air drags, the slushers. You had a different term for it, but you know what I mean.
Scraper engine.
Scraper
Oh,
engine.
the scrapers.
Scrapers.
Yeah.
They used to freeze up on because we had air scrapers. So
Oh, did you?
yeah, and I used to. You said you loved that. I used to hate that.
Oh, well, they were electric that I ran.
Oh man, ours are air, and I didn't mind running it so much. And it's funny how, if it's a short run and you can see it, if you're there by yourself, driving by yourself, and you can see it, you get good at throwing that bucket around in different directions. It sounds silly to somebody who's never done it,
Right.
but if you do it for long enough, it you get good at you can make it flip over to the top, make it flip over to the bottom.
Right, yeah.
So when I was running the drag, especially on long drags, I would kind of start to fall asleep, and I'd feel it bump, and I'd be on, say it was the face end, and I'd switch it around the other way, and stay awake, Banksy, stay awake. Bump! It would hit right here in front of me at the chute, and the cars were usually down below on the gangway.
Yeah.
We'd have a drag up the heading, and we'd drag across the heading. If it was a long heading where we weren't shoveling, you couldn't shovel, you need two men to shovel. Sometimes you'd have a drag there to drag it all the way to the top of the chute, and then down it would go. Set up a couple of little battery props there so the bucket couldn't go down, but the coal would. And then they'd tap it out of the chute down below. And then I did have a gangway once that I drove that had a jalopy on a pitch that went up and then turned over top of the mine car. And we would drag in there. But the problem with that, we would drag to the jalopy, and the jalopy would take the coal and the rock up into the car.
Okay.
But that was in a 3-foot vein. It averaged about 3 feet. It was the ridge vein. And I'd have to take so much rock in the bottom so that the mine car would fit through. There'd be all kinds of rock mixed in with that coal. And when we fired that sandstone there, it would come out in what's been described to me as Schliverfelze, but really pointy, just a lot of points and a lot of just rough. It just wasn't nice. The drag didn't like to dig into it. You needed a whole bucket instead of a V bucket. And when you got it to that jalopy, a lot of times that rock would get underneath those flights and it would knock that chain off.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh! Once an hour, you're putting the chain back on.
Yeah, we had that son of a bitch Moran. He was all right. I got along with it, but we'd be sitting there eating in the gangway, and he'd come around and take big bites, boys. Take big bites now. Take big bites. Out of your sandwiches to hurry up, get back. Jeez, Christ. But he would say it in a way I didn't know if he meant it, or he was telling you to hurry up, gobble your lunch. Take big bites, boys. Take big bites now. Son of a bee. Boy.
I remember one time sitting in the monkey level. When I worked at Carline Coal Company, there was 2 breast miners. It was myself and my buddy Dusty Steely. And, for the most part, there was other guys. Bradley Purcell was up with us for a while before he went to drive monkey. And Harry Dunlevy, when he was out of jail, would be with us. So we came down. Everybody was going to fire at once, because normally up in the breasts, we're the last in the airway, and we'd be getting smoke all day. We would be able to fire and clear ours, and it would just go out the airway, but if the gangway or the monkey fired off time, if
You
they didn't
got
fire
it.
at the end of the day, we got it. And it would hang, as you said, for hours. So we tried to fire together. So we came down to the monkey level, and Harry Dunleavy was bringing up a chute from the gangway. And he was almost there to connect to the monkey on the last blind chute as they were driving the gangway in. And we're sitting there in the monkey, and Harry yells up he's going to fire in the chute. Okay. We look over, we're, I don't know, 50 feet from the face, say, of the monkey. And we're asking, how far is the gangway in? Oh, it's a little farther than the monkey. Okay, well, where's your chute at? Don't worry about it. I'm not close to that monkey yet. All right. We're sitting there digging around in our bags and thought, that chute's going to come up somewhere right over here, say 5-10 feet from where we were sitting. I know he says he's a couple cuts away, but maybe we should move back the monkey a little bit just in case. So we got up quick and we moved back to beyond the next chute back. Boy, when that went off, it was an eruption through the monkey floor right next to where we were sitting.
See?
He holed it.
Hey.
And, we cursed at him a little bit, but we all kind of laughed in the end because,
Nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some great times, boy.
it's the silly things like that you just never forget.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's right.
Did you ever aspire to go and take the foreman's test?
No, I never did. The only places that worked steady were up country, was Glen Alda. Down here, Lehigh Valley and Jetta Highland, from the late 40s on, it was 4 days, 3 days, 4 days, 3 days. If you got 2 weeks' pay solid, you were lucky, because they were cutting back. They'd work Stockton. Well, they had the mine schedule here at 6 o'clock every day on WAZL radio, and it would announce Jetta number 5 idle, 40 shaft working, Stockton working, Drifton idle, Highland number 2 idle. They would announce it every day at 6 o'clock. And then they blew the whistle too, With 1 to work, 2 to stay home, and they blew that at the end of the first shift.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where were you in 69 when the Knox broke through? Or 59, I'm sorry, 59, when the Knox broke through?
Was I in, Lion, or was it Cuba? Reason you mentioned that, we were all sitting there one day, and a couple of them guys, they were my age, hey, they're paying bonus up at the Knox. They were paying bonus, big bonus for extra cars. Let's go up. What about you, Phil? You want to go? Let's go. Make more money. I said, I don't know. I was this way and that way. I said, that's extra miles for me to drive and this and that. And it was, did you ever go up there and see that? That's a wicked place. That son of a bitch went right under the river. You could spit in the river from where they drove that slope. Well, I went up a couple times to their anniversaries and talked to Joe, the guy that got him out the shaft, the Eagle Air shaft. A good job it wasn't filled. It was illegal mining. That's what it was. Nothing else. Because I seen it. Take a skip off of the side. Well, we took it yesterday. Take another skip today. We need a couple more cars. We were sitting one time in the gangway. Where the hell was it? It was either Sugar Notch or Huber. And we seen the two lights coming down the gangway. We're all sitting there eating. Two guys come down. One guy had a roll of paper under his arm. And, good morning, good morning. How you doing, buddy? They passed us and they went inside a little further. Finally, they come back out, walking. They're talking to themselves. And they stopped by us. And we were talking. The one guy says, you see this side here? On here, this is all solid on their map. And it wasn't solid. It was, they took it all out. That was bad. That was bad.
That was a skip off the gangway.
They took more than a skip. Jesus Christ, they took the pillars and all. They just stuck props up. Yeah. I wonder why they said that to us, too. Nobody ever said nothing. I never said nothing.
Who were they?
They were
bosses or
mining
inspectors?
engineers or something, guys. Yeah,
Okay.
They were company men. Yeah. They weren't us guys. Yeah, I never forgot that. Well, you know, if you're there drilling and you hit water, what's the first thing you do? Stop.
Yeah. Stop and leave. Stop and go.
Right.
That happened to me and Mike A. at Brownies.
Did you?
We were drilling up and we hit a slant that was filled in with water. Well, actually, we hit the 6 drift, the old drift that goes across
Oh, yeah.
halfway down the slope. And we were long holing on the east side of the Skidmore. And we hit an old slant that was holding water that had come off the thing. And, you know, drilling those long holes, you're going up 100 feet or so. Just, you know, you drill and then put another 4 foot on the steel and drill again and keep drilling. Well, got pretty heavy after a little while, so Mike A. was on one side of the drill and I was on the other, and we're pushing that thing up, and next thing you know, water starts coming down the pit. And we were pretty new at it at that point, but me and Mike just looked at each other, let go of the drill, and out we went.
Sure.
So John, water coming out the drill. Well, I guess you guys found the end of the end of the chute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what's back of you there, boy. You never know. Said, them guys said that should be all solid, and all it was props. Phew. You can get hurt easy. Very easy.
Yeah, had some close calls. Everybody does. You can't do it for very long without having
No.
something try to
That
get you.
one guy up there, the whole rib kicked out and pushed him. He was standing just like this. The coal just pushed him against the next rib. He was just standing there. We got chased because we went up and over, and I said, come on, I want to see. They wouldn't, we wanted to help, you know, but they had enough of help there to dig him out. And as the coal was coming down more and more, there he was standing, deader than a doornail, graveyard dead. When that coal hits you, buddy, even if it comes across the room and shoo. But that makes you safety conscious for a while. Then you go back to your old ways. When I start working for Jetta, you could go and make a drag. You know what a drag is? On your pay.
Oh. Okay.
Around here, you went to, I made a drag. Well, that was a drag on your pay. I went down to Jetta office and said, I could use $20. And she give me your brass check number. And so I was broke. So just got married, so I go down. I said, son of a bitch, I'm going to try it. I didn't have no money. Well, the Jetta office was state of the art. Their sidewalks were whitewashed. They had flowers planted up and down. Everything was painted. They had an ice cream store inside. They had a suit club. I belonged to a suit club. They took $1 a pay off your pay. And then they drawed a number every 2 months or 3 months. And if they drawed your brass check number, you won a suit.
Wow.
And at the end, if you quit, they used your money, but they gave you a percentage back. Say you had 8, 10 months or 2 or 3 years, they'd give you so much money. But me, I go down this day for a drag. I go into Mr. Sweatman, I'll never forget. He's sitting there. I go up to this desk with some. I said, Mr. Sweatman, I'd like to take a few dollars out of my pay. I had my brass check number ready there. And he looked at me over them glasses. He's thinking, he said, tell you what I'll do with you. I don't want you to be like the rest of these guys around here. You're just married, ain't you? I said, yeah. He said, I'll give it to you, but I don't ever want to see you here again. He said, don't come down here. Don't do that. Don't get into that habit. Well, them guys would take drags on their pay and then go and get drunk. Or you know what else they'd do? They'd buy a ham or a turkey and take up in the bar and sell it and go on a big bender. Yeah, and the woman would be sitting home with a couple of kids and she's nothing to eat. But I got it from him and I never went back. I never went back. But just the look of him and the tone of his voice scared me. No more drags for Phil. One was enough. And it was only $10 or $15. But at that time, it was a nice little chunk. Great. I used to buy my gas there. Yeah.
At the Jetto office?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right where Eric's house is, about 100 yards across the railroad track. It was the big office there. Yeah, the Markles were, they were pretty well known. Old man Markle, they say he married a Southern belle from Louisiana. She was one of them Southern belles, you know. They were all right, what the hell. You did your work, they paid you, that's all. You got some guys would push you to, you know. And up country was worse than down here. Because you had to know somebody and you paid for jobs. There was good jobs and bad jobs in the mine, you know. You had a good friend when he got you drunk twice a month, why he'd give him a good job. When I went for my mining paper, my miner's pension, the lady says, the district office was in Hazelton, and I said, I'd like to file. She looked at me. Where did you work? I said, well, I know I worked 4 years here for Jetta Highland, and the rest is scattered all over the Anthracite, different mines. Oh, we can't go by that. You'll have to get some authentication or something, which she said that proved that you worked. And my due bills, I should have kept them. I threw them. I said, if I go to them coal companies and get slips where I worked, will that be? Yeah, she said, that's how you bring them in here. Me, like a dummy, I go up to Huber. The offices were still going. And I went in, and I talked to the lady there, and I said, I'd like my work records, if I can, for Glen Alden. Because I worked here, I worked over in Sugar Notch, and I worked at Kidder Slope. Oh, no, she said, there's no records here. They're all in New York City. She said, that's where everything is. Boy, I got angry. I figured, no, keep it cool, keep it cool. So I left. I said, okay. And I was talking with somebody in a bar. He said, at that time there wasn't computers like there is today. He said, get a slip from the district office and send it into Baltimore, Maryland, to Social Security. They have your records from the coal companies. They know how long you worked here and how long you worked there. I said, okay. I did that. And it took me a good 6 or 7 months to get it back from Baltimore. But then I had the list. My years and for who. And I took it over and oh yes, she said, we sign you right. Yeah.
So that was all part of the union then. So you were in the union.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I took Martin Coles was a recording secretary for Drifton. And when I got laid off in Drifton, I says, give me a transfer. Because if you were in the union and you got laid off and you went to another company for a minor job and it was less than a year, you didn't have to pay no dues. Initiation fee, rather. But if it was over a year, you had to pay a $50 initiation fee. So I took Martin Coles, gave me it. I still have it here. I took it up and I showed it to the boss. He said, you know what you can do with that? Wipe your ass with it. You can come out tomorrow, but we're taking $50 off you, $5 a pay. I paid it twice, just to keep working. Yeah. There was a skullduggery going on at that time too, boy.
Skullduggery.
Yes, sir. I paid $50 twice.
Did you ever consider leaving the union and working at any independent places? Were there any independent mines going on?
Nah, there was a couple of dog holes here and there. I
Right.
worked one in Upper Lehigh for a short period of time. It was a dog hole, and it wasn't a dog hole. After they got running, the coal run pretty good, they sold it to the company. They expanded a little bit, and they got a truck, and they loaded it in a truck, and they ran it on scale, and then the company bought it. Sandy Run Miners and Producers. Yeah. But that's the only thing. Nah, I wanted my pay. My pay, I earned it. That's what I want. Today, they send it to the bank, right? Your pay.
Could be.
Some companies, they do what is it?
They do a direct deposit?
Yeah, direct deposit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. But I guess it's okay. But when we worked in 40 Shaft, it was 51 or was it 52, they stopped. They paid in cash. The armored car come in, the guys with the big machine guns. And then that time the third level was going, you lined up whatever level you was on, and your brass check number, you give it to them, and he gave you the envelope. That's the first time I ever saw a $100 bill. See, it paid you in big denominations. So it made it easy for them, And you know what they did? Like, when I got hurt, I think she got, I could be wrong, $40 or $45. She took a cigar box. The committee man on each level, he stood at the pay line where you got paid with this cigar box for the widow or for the wife of the miner that got hurt. And whatever change you had, you put it in that cigar box. And then they gave that to the wife. Yeah, that's all we had. That was 51 and 52, I think, was the last time Lehigh Valley paid in cash. But it was a son of a bitch. When you were night shift, everybody had a big pin. We pinned our envelope to our shirt because you didn't trust the wash handy. You know, you're going down at night. Always keep that pay there. Long time ago.
Yeah, right. It's so
Yeah.
intriguing.
Yeah.
Give us a little cap of your time in the service. When you went in, what you
Oh.
did, any interesting things to speak of.
Well, I went down to Camp Landing, Florida, took infantry training and put me in a rifle company, shipped me overseas. By the time we got there, everything was over. They were mopping up. We got on a 40 and 8 boxcar in France, and we rode to Namur, Belgium. And got off there. It was in the winter time. It was cold as a bastard. And stayed there a while. They broke the company up. And then he says to me, 2 places to go. Do you want a side job in the graves registration? He said, there ain't no inspections there. I said, I'll take it. So I went in the graves registration. Oh, what a mistake. Picking the dead bodies. The Germans had to dig down till they hit a GI, a body, and then a GI, an American citizen, American military had to handle that body. And you're looking for dog tags, you're looking for markers, and it stinks and smell. Of course, everybody had a little bottle of whiskey with them. Take them back to a portable mortuary. And what the hell, I went on how many details. I went up through Saarbrücken, come back, went to Reims, went to Nancy, France, come back, went to Marseille. There was 3 cemeteries down there, a military for the GIs, one for the Germans and one for the French. I come back, went to Paris, went back to France for a while, then went back to Isle Saint Germain. Then they discharged me. That was I was moving all the time, Yeah.
Came back to
They
freelance.
gave me a pension. They gave me a pension.
Mm-hmm.
Just not too long ago here.
So you're still receiving that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I said, well, AGRC, American Graves Registration Command, I said, check me out. The guy up in the VA said, they're all dead. I said, I can't help that. He said, you're one of the few of that era and that place there that's still going. So I guess at 94 I am the last that a Mohican. So he gave
made it.
He gave me a good pension. Yeah.
You get a pension from the union. And do you get something? From the
$30
union?
a month.
This is what you get today.
No, they upped it. $31.20. I can show you that. Well, they put that right in the bank. And I get the black lung.
You do get black lung.
Yeah.
I was gonna
And he
ask.
gives me $2.12 every 2 weeks. That's $4.24 a month. So that's all right.
Yeah.
Pays a light bill.
Okay.
What the hell? What do I need here? I don't need too much. I got enough to go by. I got a second-hand junk of a Lincoln out there to run. I'm satisfied. I go to Arizona if I'm physically able for a month. I got an old trailer out there. I go out there and sit around for a couple of months where it's warm and then come back home. And the daughters take good care of me. I got a sister living up the road. One daughter out there, and I got a daughter right down by where Eric lives. My son-in-law lives like catty corner from where Eric's working on his house. Yeah. So I'm doing all right. I have no complaints. No complaints at all.
Excellent.
The United States government doesn't owe me a dime.
So in the course of your 94 years,
Yeah.
what major events and changes have you seen throughout your lifetime that are just really remarkable? I mean, boy, 94 years ago was like a, I couldn't fathom it
Oh, Jesus.
at my age.
Well, when I was young, living up really, I didn't have enough money to take a girl to the movies. We didn't have no money. We lived off the garden. We had a big garden. We planted a garden. I went to school. I never graduated. I only went 2 years in high school, and I quit because I wanted to work. And I worked in a cigar factory when I was a kid. Worked in a bakery for a year. I made a, well, what the hell, we were all poor, we didn't know it, you know. We had a lot of fun. Jesus, we had a good time when we were kids here. Yeah. The changes, yeah, the guy in the moon and the rockets and Dick Tracy wrist radios and stuff we used to read about, now it's all here. I'm ancient, you know, what the hell, I'm just satisfied. I have no complaints at all.
Do you think the world's in a better place today, or?
No, I'm a conservative. I don't like what I see going on. Bringing all them people. I believe in helping people, but just bringing them in here. My grandfather, on my father's side, he had a paper on a wall in that little shanty that they lived in. And he used to say, "Me United States citizen." He was so proud of that paper. I always remembered that. Today, they don't think too much of that. You don't hear nobody say. I think they just, up in Scranton, they went through some today. I think they give them some citizenship. I don't know. But I believe in earning your way, working your way. The best feeling I ever had, my pay, I earned it. Put it right there. That's what I wanted. Then I could work, bring some home. Well, he made the Freeland Overhaul factory was down here by the railroad depot. They made overhauls, Freeland overhauls, bib overhauls. Short overhauls. I used to buy my smocks there for the mines. Good material. Dress factory right across the road. Up here by the school, that was a shirt factory. There is, down on Conia Street was a cigar factory. My mother worked for old Bressler. Bressler was the first one. He started the cigar factory. Then Mr. Feist took it over. And they hired all women to make cigars. And I was out of school looking for a job. So my mom says to me one day, she said, "Why don't you go over and ask Mr. Feist if he needs any help around that factory? Tell him I worked for him when I was a girl." So I went and I told him. Okay, he said, "I'll hire. $12 a week. Come out." And I used to soak the tobacco. That time, it was in the 40s, early 40s. The embargo wasn't on with Cuba. They used to get the good Havana, Cuba cigars, the Havana tobacco right from Cuba. Good stuff. And they shipped it in here in crates, and we had to take it apart. I had a big, long horse trough. I used to put it in hot water. And old Mr. Feist, he's a good guy. And I used to see a lot of white stuff come in with this tobacco. See, that stuff was like shredded wheat, you know. You had to wet it, get it back to life, to roll cigars. So I says to old Feisty one day, he name was pretty good. I said, "What the hell is all of this white stuff that comes in with the tobacco leaves?" Heh, he said, heh. He said, you know what that is? I said, no. He said, that's saltpeter. He said, don't take any of that or your dicky won't come up. That's what it was. It was to kill a tobacco beetle. There's not many bugs go on tobacco. In fact, there's only one, and it's a beetle. And it goes on the plant in Cuba or wherever they raise tobacco. And at that time, they used saltpeter to kill it and to keep it away from eating the plant. I worked for him. Well, what the hell, I was smoking cigars, chewing tobacco when I was 14, 15 years old. And what else did they have here? Oh, they had a silk mill. That's about all. They were just women's places to work. Most of them was minor. There was 30-some bars in this town. They hit the record, I think. There were only mom and pop bars. Everybody, they didn't get rich. You'd try to make a living, you know. Some places like Old Remock, Jakey Mattis. Every Sunday morning at the church, whatever you were drinking was a free drink. Yep. Come in there, he gave you a free drink. No matter what brand it was, if it was the best whiskey on the shelf, you got a free one. They were, I don't know, they were close camaraderie, knit people, you know. Of course, there was always some wise guys, a fight or argument or something. But there was nothing that was serious, you know. It was a good place to live. Now I got a Dominican right across the. He lives right there. He's all right. Just says good morning. He can't speak English. He grunts and I grunt. So, you know, his wife speaks a little English, but that's all right. I can get by. I ain't moving out of here now after all these years. What the hell? I'm going to stay here. But there's big changes. Jeez. Automobiles, rockets, airplanes. Big changes.
You have anything, Chris?
What do you got, Chris?
I think I don't know. I think we're pretty good. I think Phil, you
Covered a
covered it
lot.
pretty good, man.
Well, I only tell you what I know here.
Yeah. Some good stories there. That's what I was after, was that some of those mining stories.
Yeah.
Your hips still
Well, there
bothers?
was a guy. I'll tell you one quick one I remember from old Petrovich. Old John had a bad cough. He had miner's asthma. What the hell? Most of the bars here had a trough running with little water on it. We spit in there. We're sitting at the bar in there, and John's coughing. I don't know. Somebody says to John, they said, "Hey, John, you got bad cough there." "Yes," he says, "I have bad cough. I know I have bad cough. But I know some men in cemetery wish they had this cough." See, the wisdom of the old guy. Yeah. They had their own way of communicating with us.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, old Andrew, we did bad. Andrew, you're not going. Andrew, show us how you soldier for Franz Joseph. Well, he'd say, "Give me 3 feathers." Well, there was a whiskey with 3 feathers. 3 white feathers was on the bottle. I don't think they make it anymore, but that was his drink. Okay, give Andrew a drink. Well, he'd get about half loaded. He'd take the broom, he'd put it across him, and he'd get down on his hands and knees, and he'd go across the floor like a soldier. Like he was a soldier for Franz Joseph. I said, "You go home." "Oh, I go home, they kill me," he said. Them old timers, I like them old people. They were funny and they were honest. Yeah. Good people.
Do you speak multiple languages?
No, I can get a little bit of Yaparobic Kapushan, Umalia Tsiganka, Nadolinie, Tsiganka, Mama daj mi boke zlave bolji, moja žena nima gači, ale bude mac. That means is a mother's telling her daughter, you don't have underpants on when you go out, there's going to be trouble. That's the way the old timers used to, that's what they would say. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I worked with a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch guys down in the West End. They call it the West End of Schuylkill County. And they'd be going back and forth in PA Dutch, and boy, you get lost in a hurry.
Yeah.
And you could tell by the eyes whether they were talking about you or not.
Throw the cow over the fence some hay, they say.
Yes.
That was their lingo too, yeah. Yeah, people.
Yeah, that's why I was curious about the ethnicity stuff earlier, because it was just such a prevalent thing back in the day around here.
Yeah.
And still to an extent. I mean.
Well, every ethnicity, like you say, I never knew the word much. They all had their own little churches in this town. There was a little Polish church. There was a Slovak church. There was a Greek church. There was an Italian church. There was Episcopalian. There was about 6, 7 different little churches here for all the people. Yeah.
Who was the first generation of your family to come over from Europe?
My
And what country?
fathers, they came from Czechoslovakia, from Prague. I think Czechoslovakia was broken up a couple times. Now it's a Czech Republic or something. I think he came from around Prague somewhere.
Your father.
Grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Grandfather, yeah.
About what year?
Oh, hell, I don't know. I know he could never tie his tie. And every Sunday he would come up to our house. We only lived 2 houses away. And my mom would tie his tie for him to go to church. And when he'd come back, he'd ever take it off and he'd put it away. And she'd give him a little whiskey. Because my grandmother, oh Jesus, she wanted no booze in the house at all. But the old man, he loved that. He loved that little whiskey, and every Sunday, I could see him. They didn't have nothing. What the hell did they have? I helped them push the wagon of coal in from number 5, Upper Lehigh. I'd get a nickel, I'd get an apple or an orange. She'd say, go help your grandfather push that coal. He was night watchman for Vanderburg. He had one of the first shovels that came to in this area out there. And they were taking off, I guess it was the outcrop of some of them veins out there. It was pretty close to the surface, and they were doing that. And I'd do that for them. And, he died of asthma. Miner's asthma killed him. Christ, he could hardly breathe. They had chickens, cows, ducks.
Your family in the old country, were they miners at all? Or was that
No, I don't
here?
think so. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, really. Couldn't tell you. No. I know on my mother's side, I have a picture here of her father. He worked out in Latimer in the Wolf Colliery. He worked inside, and then he worked outside when they started a stripping. He had some mining, a couple of years, I don't know how many. Yeah.
What does your son do?
He drives right from here to almost Allentown. He's into photography and these here flat phones. What the hell are they?
The iPhone?
Yeah. He's into that, teaching. He teaches a course on something with them or something.
So a completely separate
Oh, yeah.
180 degree.
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
He'd never go into mines. No.
He wouldn't, or your wife wouldn't let him?
Well, to tell you the truth, it was gone when he was here already. Everything was shut down. That was the end of an era.
Yeah, I guess
You know.
I'm thinking more so the dog holes as you.
Yeah, there was a couple of them around yet. Did you ever go down to Eckley and see that homemade cracker down there?
Yeah,
Oh, the breaker thing?
That homemade coal cracker.
Oh, no.
That's what I told him. It should be up on the front street.
Huh.
It's a homemader. They got a they got an iron roller with the railroad spikes welded on it like teeth, and they got a little motor on it. You plug it in, and it crushes the coal, pushes it down the chute. Then they got a double screens, and they got it's like a little shaker,
Uh-huh.
and it separates the.
That's cool. I never saw that.
Yeah, it's on the back. If you go down Eckley, take a right at the church and go up the alley, and go slow. Right behind, you know where the company store is, where for the Molly Maguire movie. Just go down that road and look on the right. It sits in the garden there. It's a neat little thing. There was a couple of them around like that, to crack the coal for the home use, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice one. I took a picture of that and I sent it to somebody. I don't know, but
You know what the number 9, that little trommel there,
yeah.
that little thing? I have one of them.
Do you?
Exact same thing. Yeah.
Do you?
It's not as nice as that. It's not just stored. It needs work, but yeah,
The screen just turns.
yeah,
That-
yeah. That was.
Oh, that thing could do more than this little breaker that they have in Eckley. That was just a little thing, crack enough of coal just for the winter, I guess, maybe. You know? They put them segments, we used to call them, screens in there. I don't know, it was donated to them. And I mentioned that Dudek. Well, Dudek was good. He died. Now they got Bodie in there. He's a book man. Everything by the book. But that thing should be up on the main drag in Eckley to show the people how the ingenuity of the guys in the old days to crack coal. Christ, I picked it by the ton. Picked it from the slate banks. Pop bought me a wheelbarrow. He bought it from a guy that died. I got a wheelbarrow. Shit. All we had was a cook stove and the heater. You know, them houses, you look at them, they were just shacks. They were just plank boards, that's all. In the summertime, they built the outside kitchen because it was too hot cooking in. They moved their stove out there. In the wintertime, they moved the stove back in the house. Yeah. Such is life, I guess. Well, where does Brownie live?
Higgins.
In Higgins.
Yeah, he's a little north of Higgins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to get back there to see that wooden breaker. You know who showed me that breaker?
Probably Mike A.
Mike A. showed me that. I was talking one day, I said, well, Upper Lehigh was a wooden breaker. Harley number 7 was a wooden breaker, but through the years they replaced the pockets, the shakers, the chutes with stainless steel and stuff. I think that was built in 1904, 1905, finished in 6. Mike says to me, there's one wooden breaker. I said, where is it? Come on, I'll show you. So I went with him, and he showed me where it was. I said, oh, I'm coming back here, I said. So I come back, and they're brothers or something, I think, ain't they?
They're all relation over there. The Benders. Yep.
Is that what they are?
Rick Bender is the one that really owns and controls all that. But yeah, there's Buck Bender. There's Larry Bender. Wait, I can't remember Buck's actual name, but I don't think it's Larry. There's a few of them.
Is there? But it's still going.
Mm-hmm. They have a deep mine too.
Yes,
They had a couple.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, he said that they got a mine that they use some coal from. Yeah.
If you're up here for the summer, we'll make it a point at some point. Come and pick you up and take you over to the hole, take you down to the breaker.
Yeah, I'd love that, sure.
We'll probably have that GoPro going the whole time, that camera on the dash of the truck.
I don't care.
Because I know there's things that'll come out of that mouth that we'll want to have on there.
Well, I can't think of it all in one
Oh.
time, know.
Don't worry. As soon as we're 5 minutes away, whenever we
Something will
head
click.
up, I'll be like, oh, I should have asked him about that.
Yeah. Well, what I can say, it was a simple life, and I enjoyed every damn minute of it. Now that I'm old and look back at it, at the time I probably didn't enjoy it. I was just caught up in living and stuff. But the way I see the world today, and I look back at how I was brought up and my friends, geez, what a difference. I enjoyed it then. Like I told you, I didn't have enough money to take a girl to the movies, but worked out. There's always a way. And that simple way in the coal region, I enjoyed it. And now I look back, they were wonderful years. Cracking coal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, there they wanted us to use twist drill. We never used it. You can see them.
Yep.
Basically, be all day drilling with twist drill.
That's where they thread themselves in, right?
Yeah,
As they
and
go?
then the dust would come out of it. It would bring the dust out. Most of it, anyway.
Pneumatic ones? Or
There.
yeah.
But it was so slow. Put a straight steel in the son of a bitch, dump some oil in her.
Still dreaming about them jackhammers, right?
The son of a bitch will black and blue mark here for a long time. You know, from drilling top holes.
Phil, you ready to get after it again?
No, Jesus.
You ready to give him a shot?
Yeah. What kind is that?
Is it Ingersoll? I don't know, what is this, Bank? You know?
Them bastards are
Probably.
65 pounds, some of them.
Oh, we got the cutest little one too, but we don't have it here. It's about half the size of this. It's
Yeah.
a real nice one.
Yeah, they made a red devil, what they used to call it. We used
Maybe
to
that's-
steal them from one job to the other. Yeah.
The truth comes out.
I think the statute of limitations are up on that.
Yeah.
It was a simple life, and I enjoyed every damn minute of it.